first iPhone. Piece of moon. Yeah.
Welcome. It's the moon right here.
I, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, do solemnly swear
that you will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States.
that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States
And will, to the best of your ability,
and will, to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
Build a better future. So thank you again for being here, and please enjoy your visit. Take care.
Hindi ka maglalakad.
Vice President Johnson, Speaker, Mr. Chief Justice, President Eisenhower, Vice President Nixon, President Truman, Reverend clergy, fellow citizens. We observe today not a victory of parties, but a celebration of freedom, symbolizing an end as well as a beginning, signifying renewal as well as change. For I have sworn before you and Almighty God the same solemn oath. Our forebears prescribed nearly a century and 3/4 ago. The world is very different now. For man holds in his mortal hand the power to abolish all forms of human poverty and all forms of human life. And yet the same revolutionary beliefs for which our forebears fought are still in issue around the globe. The belief that the rights of man come not from the generosity of the state, but from the hand of God. We dare not forget today that we are the heirs of that first revolution. Let the word go forth from this time and place to friend and foe alike that the torch has been passed to a new generation of Americans born in this century, tempered by war, disciplined by a hard and bitter peace, proud of our ancient heritage, and unwilling to witness or permit more undoing of those human rights to which this nation has always been committed, and to which we are committed today at home and around the world.
Audiences witness a new technology, the alternating current, another American invention that now electrifies
Let every nation know
modern mobility
whether it wishes us well or ill, that we shall pay any price,
bringing the
bear
world
any
closer to their
burden,
home.
meet any
Mobility was
hardship,
dramatically expanded by the
support
emergence
any
of the
friend,
jet age. Air
oppose
travel changed
any
our
foe,
perspective of the world
to
below
ensure the
as it
survival
became more
and the
affordable,
success of liberty.
resulting in a world in which we more readily impacted one another.
This much we pledge
The
and
dawn
more.
of the space age brought
To
new
those old
perspective.
allies
The Saturn V rockets that
whose
powered
cultural
Americans to the moon
and spiritual
helped us see
origins
our world
we
from
share,
afar for the first time,
pledge the
allowing
loyalty
us to
of
witness
faithful
how
friends.
beautiful our world is.
United, there is little we cannot do in a host of cooperative ventures. Divided, there is little we can do.
Freedom affords
For
us
we
the
dare not
opportunity
meet
to
a
dream,
powerful
to
challenge
share, and to create.
at odds.
Invention
and
depends
set us
upon
up.
bold ideas,
To
unwavering
those new
ambition,
states,
and the
we
relentless
welcome
pursuit
the
of a
ranks
dream.
of the free. pledge our word
single-handedly
that
changed
one
the
form of
language of
colonial
humanity.
control shall not have passed away,
Bridging distance
merely
over
to be
once
replaced
covered
by a far more iron tyranny.
1793 Chicago
We
Railroad.
shall not always expect to find them supporting our views, but we shall always hope to find them strongly supporting their own freedom. And to remember that in
The
the
first
past,
iPhone.
those who foolishly sought power by riding the back of the tiger ended up inside. To those people in the huts and villages of half the globe struggling to break the bonds of mass misery, we pledge our best efforts to help them help themselves for whatever period is required, not because the communists are
Today,
doing it,
mobile
not
technology impacts
because
all
their
aspects
vote,
of our daily
but
lives.
because it is
The
right.
same tech that powers smart
If
devices
a free society cannot help the many who are poor, it cannot
understanding
save the
changing
few
weather
who are rich.
patterns and increasing temperatures is the job of expensive weather satellites.
To our sister republic, south of our border, we offer a special pledge. To convert our good word in a new alliance for progress, to assist free men and free government in casting off the chains of poverty. But this peaceful revolution of hope cannot become the prey of hostile powers. Let all our neighbors know that we shall join with them to oppose aggression or subversion anywhere in the Americas. And let every other power know that this hemisphere intends to remain the master of its own house. That World Assembly of Sovereign States, the United Nations, our last and best hope, in an age where the instruments of war
These experiments are leading us to sustainable, safe, and clean energy that will power the 21st century and energize our future.
becoming merely a forum for invective, to strengthen its shield of the new and the weak, and to enlarge the area in which its grids may run.
Since the invention of the automobile, cities and towns have evolved around the
Who would make
convenience of the car,
themselves our
bringing us
adversaries?
to a crossroads
We
in the
offer
current
not a
age of the
pledge,
commute.
but a request.
With the introduction of autonomous vehicles, we
Begin
are
anew the
reevaluating how mobility solutions factor into
For
our
the dark
everyday
powers
life.
of destruction,
It's a future that will reinvent
unleashed by
transportation,
science,
but it's not only confined to
engulf
cars.
all humanity.
Getting from A to B
Plans
will
are
be different
accidental.
as next generation vehicles take the sky.
Cannot tempt them with weakness.
This autonomous
For only
revolution
when our
will
arms
create opportunities
are
for
sufficient
everyone to
beyond
design
doubt.
their own future.
Can we be certain beyond doubt
Driven by
that they
American
will never be
technology,
destroyed?
breakthroughs.
But neither can two great and powerful groups of nations
America is leading
take
exploration
comfort
of
from
the
our
final
present
frontier with a new
Both
generation
sides
of space
overburdened
that is set to take
by the
humans
cost
back
of
to
modern
the moon
weapons,
and beyond.
both rightly
All
allowed,
day, private
by the
industry is
steady
launching
spread of the
high-speed
deadly
internet
atom,
constellations,
yet
bringing
both
broadband
racing
internet
toward
to
us
all parts of our world,
that
and
uncertain
even launching
balance of terror
small-sized CubeSats to lower
stays the hand of
orbit, providing
mankind
important
final
data
war.
to help farmers protect
So let us begin
biodiversity,
anew,
predict storms,
remembering
and
on both
even
sides
tourists into
that
space.
stability is not a
American
science,
companies are launching
and sincerity
NASA's
is
Artemis
always subject to
program will
proof.
inspire a new
Let us
generation
never
of
negotiate
scientists,
out of fear,
engineers,
but
astronauts,
let
and
us
more,
never fear to
landing
negotiate.
the first woman and first person of color on the lunar surface. The Artemis program includes the
Let
establishment
both
of a
sides
base camp at
explore
the
what
moon's south
problems
pole
unite us,
and the Gateway Outpost
instead
in
of
lunar
belaboring
orbit.
those
Through the
problems which
Artemis
divide us.
Accord,
Let both sides, for the first time, formulate serious and precise proposals for the inspection and control of arms, and bring absolute power to destroy other nations, under the absolute control of all nations.
At this very moment, NASA's Curiosity and
Then
Perseverance
both
rovers
sides
are conducting experiments that will help us safely set foot on the red
deadly
planet.
terror.
The United States has been
Together,
exploring
let
the
us
Martian
explore the
surface
stars.
for 1,702 years, and our ongoing exploration heralds a new age of space discovery.
And encourage the art of commerce. Let both sides unite in all corners of the earth. The command of Isaiah to undo the heavy burden and let the oppressed go free. And it may be head of cooperation, may push back the jungle of suspicion. Let both sides join in creating
We'll continue
a
to
new
move
endeavor.
forward,
Not
inspired
a
by the
balance
ideas
power,
that unite us,
but a new
to
world
find
of
solutions
law,
to feed the world,
where the
cure
strong are
disease,
just,
and create sustainable energy at home, on planet Earth, and beyond.
all this
All we need to do is look inward, upward, and forward, apply our unlimited creativity and capacity for innovation to the challenges of today and tomorrow.
nor
This
even
is
found in our
life, liberty,
lifetime
and the pursuit
planet.
of the future.
But let us begin. In your hands, my fellow citizens, more than mine, will rest the final success or failure of our cause. Since this country was founded, each generation of Americans has been summoned to give testimony to its national loyalty. The graves of young Americans who answered the call to service around the globe. Now the trumpet summons us again,
In the
not
meantime,
as
if you
a
want
call to
to
bear arms,
right here.
though arms we need, not as a call to battle, though
Yes, so as Joshua said, this is our lunar touchstone. This is a real piece of the moon brought back from the Apollo 17 mission back in 1972. It's our most recent manned mission to the moon. This astronaut right here, his name is Harrison Schmitt, also known as Jack. He's a geologist by training, also an astronaut, and he selected this rock because he thought it looked interesting. Brought it back for his NASA scientist friends to analyze, and they slightly than my father, but older than 99% of rock here on Earth. So pretty incredible piece of history. He is one of 12 astronauts to step foot on the lunar surface, but so far they've all been men. So we're really excited through the Artemis Accords. We'll be bringing the first woman and the first person of color to the moon as well, hopefully setting up a research station and learning more about the moon and space exploration in the future. Across the United States, so if you come visit, you can go to NASA's headquarters in Houston or the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C. And touch 2 other pieces. I'm 3 out of 11 right now, so I'm pretty proud, yeah. I'm slowly making my way to all of them. That's my goal.
The reason why it's considered one of the most successful American space missions in history is because of its longevity. When this rover landed on Mars in 2004, it was only meant to persist for about 90 days. Would anybody like to guess for how long it actually lasted?
3 times more.
3 times more? So about 9 months, you think? 9 months? A few years? 14 years this rover lasted on the surface of Mars, sending us back data. Data such as the fact that the first couple centimeters of Mars are radioactive. So once we get people up there, you probably shouldn't walk around barefoot. Second of all, there is ice on the surface. What this tells us is that there may have in fact been water on the surface of Mars at one point, and as such, it has evolved significantly over time. Additionally, there's some really crazy sandstorms on Mars. They're a lot like the ones here in the UAE, except they last for about 2 months rather than 2 hours. And that is actually what led to the downfall of this rover here. The sand covered the solar panels and it was unable to recharge, so it's still hanging out up there buried in the sand. So what's the point then, you may be asking? Why do we send rovers like this up to Mars when we can't even bring them back yet and they're just getting destroyed? The answer is that data. That data tells us about the creation, the history, the evolution, and maybe about the future of Mars. And that information can be extended to life here on Earth, as well as the surrounding universe as we push further into the stars. Now, in the next 10 years, we're going to try to start sending people up there to do the same studies. I will say though, if you want to make that trip yourself, it's about 6.5 months via rocket ship. I get bored after 4 hours on an airplane, so I cannot imagine sitting on a ship for that long. But if one of you ends up making it, please send me back a postcard and let me know how to get that Martian visa. That sounds really cool. But speaking of rocket travel, who here has ever heard of a guy named Elon Musk? Most everybody, right? Well, that's awesome because he's going to be here later this week to talk about Mars travel projects and things like that.
In battle we are, but a call to bear the burden of a long twilight struggle, year in and year out, rejoicing in hope, patient in tribulation, a struggle against the common enemies of man, tyranny, poverty, disease, and war itself. Can we forge against these enemies a grand and global alliance, north, south, west, that can assure a more peaceful life for all mankind? Will you join in that historic effort? In the long history of the world, only a few generations have been granted the role of defending freedom in its hour of maximum danger. I do not drink of every possibility. I welcome it. I do not believe that any of us would exchange places with any other people or any other generation. The energy, the faith, the devotion which we bring to this endeavor will light our country and all who serve it. Like the world. And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you will do for your country. My fellow citizens of the world, ask not what America will do for you, but what together we can do for the freedom of man. Finally, whether you are citizens of America or citizens of the world, ask of us here the same high standards of strength and sacrifice which we ask of you. With a good conscience, our only sure reward, with history the final judge of our deeds, let us go forth to lead the land we love, asking His blessing and His help, but knowing that here on earth, God's work must truly be our own.